When the Bulls selected Patrick Williams 4th overall in the 2020 draft, it was met with some skepticism and confusion by both Bulls fans and non-Bulls fans alike for a player who leading up to the draft wasn't even projected to go into the lottery, to not being high on most mock draft boards even the day of the draft, and for a player who didn't even start in his college season freshman year at Florida State. Taking Pat at number 4 seemed like a stretch, and to this day you still have Bulls fans debating whether taking Pat that high was the right move or not, and whether the kid still has star potential or is just straight up a busted pick that had no business in going that high in the draft. And while 3 years have gone by, you have Bulls fans going back and forth at each other on if Pat is a viable player that you actually keep and build with your organization for the future. Patrick Williams is now actually eligible for a contract extension to his rookie deal, and while yes, he does still have another year left on his rookie contract, and it's possible the Bulls could wait it out one more year and let him hit restricted free agency to let the market dictate his worth and whether the market value is actually worth matching, something tells me the Bulls are going to be looking to extend Pat this offseason, locking him up for the long term, sticking to their guns, and holding out on him eventually turning into a star, the star that they thought he could become when they drafted him back in 2020. I mean, if there's anything we know about this front office, one, continuity, but also they're pretty prideful in not wanting to admit defeat or moving on from a player that they invested in. But that aside, the question now really is how much Patrick Williams is actually worth and what a contract extension looks like for him and what would make sense for the Chicago Bulls in extending him early or letting him hit free agency, and it's what we'll be talking about in this video. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Now, this whole topic came about when Keith Smith of Spot Track gave his predictions for rookie scale extensions for those that are eligible this offseason, so really anyone from the 2020 draft class. Keith Smith is actually great, a very knowledgeable analyst in this industry, really knows his stuff when it comes to the economic side of the NBA, so definitely check out his work. He puts out great content. But anyway, in his predictions for rookie scale extensions based on a player's current salary, their current team's salary cap and luxury tax implications, as well as a player's overall production thus far in their career and their future potential. And based on all of that, he determined, or is predicting anyway, that Patrick Williams will be worth a 5-year, $100 million contract. Now, a couple things. Because of the new CBA rule, teams are now actually able to offer 5-year extensions to rookie scale deals when it used to be 4 years previously. So that's why you're seeing these longer term contract extension predictions. And keep in mind, if Pat were to get a 5-year extension at $100 million, that contract would not go into effect until the 24-25 season, since he would still be on the final year of his rookie contract this upcoming season. And the reason I say that it's important is because I know so many Bulls fans are saying that would be an absolute overpay for someone like Patrick Williams to give him a $100 million contract. But because the contract wouldn't go into effect until 24-25 and actually go through the 28-29 season, you have to understand, with the salary cap going up pretty substantially next season, as is the luxury tax threshold, and the fact that you have to assume the cap is going to continue to go up as it usually does over the years, that $20 million a year, which is what the contract would average out to be per year, is actually not that much. Yes, it's a bit high for someone like Patrick in those first 2 years of his deal especially, but with the cap going up over time, the fact that going into next season, the non-taxpayer mid-level exception is going to be $12.2 million alone, and with the fact that, you have to hope anyway, Pat is going to continue to get better as he nears his prime and enters his prime towards the end of that contract, this could very well be considered a bargain deal. As some have said before, $20 million is the new $12 million from just a few seasons ago. Get used to these new insanely high salaries that will only continue to go up with every passing year. For context, Lonzo Ball, when he signed his contract with the Bulls, was making just under $20 million a year. Obviously, the contract doesn't look good now given the circumstances surrounding Ball and the fact that it's possible he won't ever play in the NBA again. But before he got injured, Lonzo, sure, yes, was better than Patrick Williams, but he also wasn't a star player in the league. And like Pat, was viewed as a strong 3-and-D player. Of course, we all know Lonzo is more than that, despite being used as a 3-and-D wing when he was with the Pelicans. Lonzo's court vision and his passing makes him so much more valuable and impactful than just being a 3-and-D wing. But the point I'm trying to make is, 3-and-D players are incredibly valuable in today's NBA. In an age where three-point shooting is king, being a player that can space the floor, play off the ball to draw double teams away from your primary scorers, but also having the ability to play above average defense, when defense has been going by the wayside in the NBA especially, is incredibly valuable in this league, and it's why you see guys with similar skill sets to Pat getting paid handsomely for it. The other thing you have to remember, locking up Patrick Williams for 5 years, and really 6 years if you include the final year of his rookie deal for this upcoming season. Patrick Williams, who is only 21 years old, will be only 27 by the time this contract expires, when he's entering the peak of his prime. For a player that has a lot of upside potential, you're getting him for 6 years, all young, prime years that could lead to team-friendly years of his contract as the salary cap increases. I actually think this would be great for the Bulls. Now, I do have to add, I am a Pat believer. I'm pro Pat, so obviously I'm going to be a little biased on this assessment. I don't think Pat is going to suddenly break out into the superstar or be the next Kawhi Leonard like everyone was claiming he would be, but there isn't anything to suggest that Patrick Williams is just going to flop and be out of the league in a few seasons like I've seen some people say on Twitter. But even being a solid rotational player who provides that needed impact on D and three-point shooting is worth $20 million a year in the long run. Maybe not right now, but 3-4 years from now, that absolutely would be a steal when you see the mid-level exception reaching close to 15 to 60 million a year in a few seasons with the way the salary cap is increasing year over year. On top of all that, you have to compare this to how some other guys are getting paid in the league on their rookie extensions. Guys like DeAndre Hunter getting $90 million, John Collins getting a fat payday, Jordan Poole 4 years, $140 million, Tyler Hero also close to that, DeAndre Ayton received a rookie max extension. Like, I'm not saying Patrick Williams is better than these guys, although you could argue maybe for some, but all of them are getting paid well over $20 million a year on their deals. And so far, mostly all of these are looking like bad contracts. The other thing, I think why some Bulls fans are losing their minds at the thought of Patrick Williams getting an $100 million contract is the fact that you're committing to him for such a long time. For a player, I mean, let's be honest, hasn't progressed that much since his rookie season, which, to be fair, part of that lack of progress is because he was injured and out for most of his sophomore season. The other reason is because the Bulls decided to start winning now, and his development has been thrown by the wayside when he's rarely able to get touches and shot attempts playing alongside DeMar, Zach, and Vooch. But the lack of progress aside, worrying about committing to Patrick for 5 years is a non-issue. Signing him to a contract like that is a tradable contract when you consider his age, and again, salary cap increasing over time. It would be one thing if they were paying him this contract into his 30s, but they're not. He would be 27 by the end of his deal. Now, for me personally, even though I would be okay with the Bulls extending Pat for 5 years at $100 million, I would be more content with it being a little less, say 5 years, $90 million, or 4 years, $72 million. I think something in the $18 million a year range is more palatable and closer to Pat's value, but honestly, it's so negligible that as long as it's $20 million or below, I can live with it. Now, if they sign Pat to say something in the range of 5 years, $130 million, which is a near max level extension, yeah, then we have problems. And I think I would lose all of the little faith I have left in this front office. But I see it being very unlikely, given it's not like Pat has had these stellar seasons to start his career to where his agent would actually have an argument and leverage to say that he's worth that much. And if that ends up being the case, then the Bulls would just hold off. Let him play out his last year of his deal and see what happens when he becomes a restricted free agent to determine what the market around the league thinks that he's worth. I want to know what you guys think though. Do you think Pat would be worth a contract extension of 5 years, $100 million? Why or why not? Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.